What's going on, guys? This is Otis here, and today the gameplay is on the second part of that half an hour flying game that I had the last week, and so it was a pretty nice gameplay. The end of this one, I ended up actually dying from a teammate with a small. He ended up shooting us, and I was pissed off. But there's not much you can do when you're playing hardcore, and people will decide they just want to kill you. But today's commentary is about an article that I saw on IGN this morning when I got home and checked my email. And I ended up going and reading the article, and it basically just talks about children, how they're becoming more addicted to video games, and they're becoming more violent because of it. And pretty much all I have to say to that is just straight up just bullshit. I mean, it's so ridiculous that people are just overreacting with these kids' problems and stuff. And a lot of the teachers are saying there's this correlation of the students that are acting out, all these violent acts, and then all of a sudden, they're tired because they're playing video games all night and stuff. And it's not the video game's fault. It's just such bullshit that video games and TV and music just gets blamed for all the problems. It just seems like that's the media. Just all they want to do is they just want to go and just blame all the problems, on those big three things, and it's just completely ridiculous. Children have always just been acting out violent things, violent movies and video games, forever. That's just what happens as you're part of growing up. And it's the parents' responsibility, to not let them play freaking 12 hours of video games when when they're 5, 6, 7, 8, even 12 years old. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't happen. It's these parents' faults, and everyone's just going and just blaming video games, and it's ridiculous. And I'm getting so pissed off on it, because before I started working at UPS, my job actually is I was an after school daycare person, so I took care of kids between the ages of 6 and 14, and so I have some experience this, and I have a minor for childcare, and so at least I know what I'm talking about. I've seen the violence act out a little bit, and it's just so ridiculous. This was about, I think, 8 or 9 years ago and stuff, and that was in like Pokemon was pretty big between the kids and stuff, and Austin Powers and stuff, and they would still act those stuff out just all the time. And it's they know it's not real. I mean, in this article it talks about some of the younger kids being 4 and 5, asking them, hey, is video game violence real and stuff, and they're saying yes, and of course they're gonna say, at 4 and 5 they're gonna say yes, it's real, because they don't know the difference between reality and non-reality. It's just so ridiculous, and I'm just so angry and pissed off that just video games just get these bad raps, when it's the parents' fault. The parents should not just throw their kid a PlayStation or an Xbox, in the room and say, here you go, it's after school, do your homework and then play video games until 1 or 2 in the morning. You know what? It's ridiculous that parents use video games as a babysitter. That's where the problems are happening. It's just the parents. I understand. They might not have time all the time to play with the kids. It's cheaper to buy an Xbox or a PlayStation and 2 games for them and say, hey, you know what? Here, play this. I'm not gonna get a babysitter because it's too expensive. And that's just I understand that. You could kind of maybe even blame that on the parents, saying they weren't ready to have kids when they actually had them and stuff. But it's just absolutely ridiculous. And then there's 2 articles too. The original one was from The Guardian, which is a English paper that was that published the article, and it had some psychologists saying in there that children are more likely to have seizures and tendinitis in their hands and arms if they're playing video games, which is just absolutely ridiculous, just because there's not enough time frame with kids playing video games going up until the into their older years. There's not enough time for them to study the kids for that long of a period of time. And pretty much it's these generations of kids that are growing up with video games, probably between 4, 5, and 6, all the way up until their adult life eventually. But there's just not enough time to study, and they're just coming out just spilling all this bullshit all over the place. And I hate it. It's just ridiculous, and it's just so frustrating, because it's just all these people, and then you have the lawmakers, who'll probably be oh, we've got to we've got to monitor this better. And it's part of the parents' faults too. Buying like mature games. For kids. Probably younger than 12. I mean, there are some mature kids. Some kids know that yeah, it's not real. Yeah, some when I was in the childcare stuff, they talk about yeah, I know I probably shouldn't be playing this and stuff, but I know the difference between like reality and stuff. And I know some kids should not be playing those games at all just because of just their mental development, it's just not there yet. They just really can't understand. Maybe they roughhouse a little too much when they're playing too, or they're acting out. The video games and the violent movies, and it's just yeah, it's just so frustrating. And I know, yeah, maybe like the video games too for kids and stuff. That's helping with the obesity epidemic, like in America too. Just because they get home, they just want to play video games all day, and that's understandable too. Where in the older days, you could say, where you'd have to like walk home from like school and stuff, and then you'd go out and play, football or some sport. You'd run around at least. You didn't have really like sedentary entertainment like we do in today's age, with the phones and the video games and the TV, where you could have with the DVRs and stuff, the parents can record cartoons and like whatever their favorite show is, or even like movies and stuff, and it's just so frustrating, so ridiculous, but it's just I guess it's just there just needs to be more regulations like on the parents, because it's most of the parents' fault. But hopefully you guys ended up liking my little rant that I just got frustrated on, that I just wanted to talk about today. But thanks for watching, guys.